In this video, I'm talking about the Chicago Bulls and what they are going to be doing this upcoming offseason, what to expect from the whole Zach LaVine situation. Is there a trade that's available? We'll be talking about that in the video. Feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment, let me know what you think the Bulls should do this upcoming offseason, as free agency is just around the corner. And without further ado, let's just get into it. So the Chicago Bulls have the following free agents. They have Zach LaVine, Derrick Jones, Tristan Thompson as unrestricted free agents. Restricted, Troy Brown, Matt Thomas, Tyler Cook, Malcolm Hill. Let's really focus on Zach LaVine. There were rumors that there was potential that like LaVine wouldn't be back. Portland wasn't a team that kind of like was randomly interested in him. It sounds like those talks have kind of cooled off now, and that LaVine will return to Chicago. Chicago should fully do this. I understand that there are some issues with LaVine and his game. Doesn't really play a whole lot of defense. Is coming off an injury, although can't project that for the future. But ultimately, I do think he's a good player, and I think that you sign him. Extension wise, when we talk about extension players, there are always going to be potential trade pieces that you can throw into deals for the future. Nikola Vucevic, Kobe White, Tony Bradley, Javonte Green, and Ayu Dosunmu. So these are guys that I think could be on the move, but do you re-sign any of them? Dosunmu will be really interesting to see. He kind of played some really good games, but also played some really bad games for the Bulls this year, kind of up and down. But I think other guys on this list, like Vucevic has to be a trade candidate for the Bulls, in my personal opinion. I think they can't really hold on to him. He's an older player. We really watched him get a little bit exposed in the playoffs, pick and roll wise and defensively wise. So I just worry there. Kobe White, I think with just Caruso and with Lonzo Ball and LaVine there in Chicago, it's really taken away some of his effectiveness. Not to mention Ayu Dosunmu is also there as well. So I don't know what White's future is in Chicago. It doesn't really seem like something that's going to be very long, in my personal opinion. Let's go look at their cap sheet. Last year, the Bulls acquired DeMar DeRozan, so they're on the books with him for another 2 seasons. Vucevic, I feel like this is the move to make. I know it's going to kind of tick people off maybe, but I think that you have to make the move with Vucevic. And we've heard the rumors about Rudy Gobert, and I think that makes sense for them to be able to do that. So we'll see. We'll ultimately see there. But let's talk about kind of what we can expect from this team. Caruso should be back. Patrick Williams injured this last year, but hopefully he's going to be back. Kobe White, Javonte Green, other players as well. So there's your kind of look at the cap sheet for this team. Ultimately, I do think Vucevic is a big trade candidate. Mentioned that Patrick Williams could also be a trade candidate as well. If you really feel like you can take it the next step and get a guy who's going to be that much better and can improve your team by a good margin, then I think you go for it and you do move those 3 players like Vucevic, Kobe White, and Patrick Williams. What do those players net for you in the future? I think they could get a solid return for that, and go from there. This team ultimately does need defense still. I'm not crazy about DeRozan and LaVine as defenders. Obviously talked about Vucevic. The team was really bad at the end of last year and probably should have gotten swept by the Bucks in the playoffs. But ultimately, I think that they are, if you can add some defense, I think that could be great. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So is Derrick Jones worth an extension? I don't know. Do you bring in Javonte Green? He played really good and was a starter for you for most of the year. Do you want to extend him? What does that look like? Is it under $10 million annually? I think that would be kind of a good place to start with him, but we'll see. Right now, personally, I would probably wait to extend or make really any big decisions about Kobe White or Ayu Dosunmu being on the team long term. And go from there. Some names that have popped up for Chicago have been Rudy Gobert, Mitchell Robinson, PJ Tucker, and Luke Kennard. These are just rumors, and so we'll see exactly what kind of they kind of try to do here. But ultimately, I think the Bulls are in a kind of a tough situation here. You have Lonzo, who should be good for training camp. Like, should be okay. Like, I feel like he needs to be okay, but I think it's a little bit concerning there with Lonzo, just with his health. I hope he gets better. I think he's a good fit for the team. Levine, the whole contract situation, I think they extend him. DeRozan still being on the roster, Vucevic. Like, I understand they have some good players. I just think that they're not as good of a team as other teams in this, in this Eastern Conference. So how do they get better? I think a trade has to happen. That's just my personal opinion. I think the drafting of Dalen Terry was solid, maybe a little too high for my liking, but ultimately, I think the Bulls got some decisions to make. And these are some things that they'll need to consider moving forward into July and into the offseason. But let me know what you feel. Do you think like the Bulls need to make a specific trade? Is it Rudy Gobert? Is it somebody else? Do they need to just hold their players and try to be just better next year? What exactly is it for this team that can really push them into that next tier of contention? That's it for the video, though. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video. Check out the other 29 videos that I'm doing for the other 29 teams in the NBA and what to expect from their offseason. Other than that, have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video.